Okay, so we got Mark, one of our students here, and we wanted to have a conversation about kind of jiu-jitsu and what brought him in here, and just kind of, talk about your journey on the mats here with us. So, like, what first brought you in here?
Well, what's interesting is been competitive my entire life, and I've wanted to start jiu-jitsu for years. I've been dabbled in other martial arts, but we've moved around quite a bit due to the military. Mm-hmm. And when I saw the academy, it's literally on the way home, and that's how it started.
Nice. Did you wanted to do this for years? Did you not know that we were here, or were you just kind of busy with your life and work? And
it was a little of both. So now kids are out of the house, so I've got a little bit more free time to pursue some things that I've always wanted to.
I have an admiration for people like you, and Chris Cooper and these other guys that are kind of like what would be the word, like not breaking the stereotype, kind of like, you know what I mean? Because one of the things that I hear the most about people is like, well, I'm past my prime, I'm too old to be starting something like this. People are afraid of
calling me old.
Yes.
No, I was going to say, if this is a family, then I'm probably the grandpa.
Yeah, I mean, you are. Okay. You kind of are. I mean, like you and Chris Cooper, these guys that are like more seasoned. They're the seasoned, a better word.
Seasoned's a good word. I like experience. That works too.
Yeah, you guys have been around, right? You guys probably saw the Great Depression and the 1919 flu and all that stuff.
Yeah, that depression will be when I finally submit you with something. Well, what's interesting about that, Carlos, is the reason that you and I first talked about this came about after I was rolling with someone much younger than myself. Mm-hmm. We actually got tangled up. It wasn't a submission that started me down a road, which led to our conversation. Mm-hmm. Where his heel was caught in my gi, it just got twisted up, frustrated me beyond belief, and then it got emotional for me.
Right.
And it was a moment that I could have easily walked away, but if you hadn't stopped me on the way out the door, I wouldn't be where I am now, which is it's in a spot that I think will allow me to stay on the mat, both physically and mentally, as we proceed. So I remember you sent me a couple texts with some videos on it, with some clips. Yeah. One specifically talked about the Boyd belt system with John Boyd. Yeah. His experience as a black belt and passing the guard and leaving your ego at the door. And those things were, they really resonated with me personally. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the ones that, if you haven't seen that video, maybe we'll put a link on it. It's by Hito and Gracie, and Henner was, Hito and Henner, right? They made a video, but it's something that I feel like a lot of people need. You know what I mean? And a lot of people need to see something like that. And actually, earlier you mentioned that that's almost like something they should be watching when you start or before you start, right? And in a video like that, to me, actually, like the whole mentality that Hedon has when it comes to jiu-jitsu, which is that keep it playful attitude, and just kind of like we're here to learn and have a good time. We're not just trying to like beat each other up, mm-hmm. and that like meathead mentality that a lot of gyms just kind of follow, because when I started, it was like that. You know what I mean? Only the people that that stuck with it, that like got beat up and got beat up and got beat up and then got beat up less and then got beat up less. Those were the only people that stuck around. So you would have a class with like 5, 10 people at most. You know what I mean? And now with our art has evolved so much, and schools like ours adopt the philosophy of like, okay, we're here to learn. Take it easy. We're not. Nobody's here trying to go fight in the UFC or anything crazy. And there is of course like room and time for that. People want to be more serious with. There are training sessions. There are training partners who could probably help you with it, but we have to understand, like, see the bigger picture and see that people are here for different reasons. So I really like things like that video or the full concept of how to keep it playful and how to be good partners to each other so that we all grow together, not so that we just like, here are the tough guys and here are the other people that just kind of like are going at their own pace. Maybe they have, they're overweight, or they have, not to call you old again, but
but I'm going to.
But the people that are under a more advanced age, or the people that are busy professionals, you know what I mean? Not everybody's here, or at any gym, to be like, oh, I want to get all these medals and world champion, and I want to be training like a maniac. You know what I mean?
So when I would say to all those folks out there that are more experienced like me, I mean, I'm 58 years old. I started this 2 years ago. Very busy professional. So I can't be in here every day.
Right.
We live in a college community, so there's some young studs and studettes that can be here every day.
Right.
And I would continue to encourage that. But it was interesting for me because I've had a very successful life, in a sense that I've been extremely driven to accomplish what I set out to do. As a kid, won state championships. I've coached state championships teams. Spent 21 years in the Army, airborne ranger, flew helicopters and airplanes. I've written books. I mean, when I put my mind to something, I'm gonna do it. And that's why I'm back in here. But if I take the attitude I had at 22 when I played hockey for Miami of Ohio, there was a no quit attitude. I mean, still at this point, and I have to check myself that there's times it would almost, and this may sound a little dramatic, but I'd almost die to quit, because that's how I was raised. And that was my own mental mindset. But the interesting thing, and the conversation that you and I had after I was extremely frustrated that day, talked about really what I got out of it is, what are you here for? Where are you going? You're not starting this at 25.
At the end of the day, jiu-jitsu is a very personal journey. So there's not this like, okay, everybody has to be here to get to the next rank. It's just how much work you put into it. What your proficiency looks like. Keeping into account the size difference, the age difference, just all of these things. So it's not just like black or white. It's very can almost be confusing for some people how our ranking system works. Because at the end of the day, we have your card, we keep track of your classes, but that's just showing me that you've been here for class, showing me that you've seen these techniques. It's a very it's a minimum requirement on so many levels, because there's way more than that before that blue belt gets put on you or that purple belt gets put on you. You know what I mean? So as a coach, that's another reason why I try to connect with everybody. So I want to keep you here. I want to make sure that you guys are getting better and understanding that this is a long process. You know what I mean?
What's interesting about the process or the journey is it's an art.
Yeah,
it's an art, and there are people that start drawing when they're 2, and they still haven't created what they wanted to by the time they're 72.
Yeah.
This is something that's very individual. You have to find out what works for you, and for us old dogs, there's some things that I have to adjust because my back just doesn't bend that way. Yeah. So it's creating that environment, from a personal level, that takes into account what your coach is telling you, allowing you to have success. So it's kind of interesting with those videos. I came up with just a little acronym for me, PMS, where it's physical, it's mental, and then in some senses it's spiritual, and I don't mean the traditional religious perspective, but it becomes such a part of you, because the initial white belt, blue belt, and this is just me at my level, it's physical, it's all physical.
Right.
And then, okay, Mark, you need to relax. I know that Rob weighs 310 pounds, not that I've asked him lately, and he's on top of you, but mentally, here's where you need to be. You have to transcend the physical part. You have to learn how to, survive. And really being able to survive versus submit is more important to me at this point.
Oh yeah.
And then hopefully, as I progress, that oneness of being the artist and being the, becoming a coach, being a mentor, That's kind of the stuff that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. One of the things that I kind of wanted to get out of this conversation with you is maybe some advice for people who are, maybe kind of on the fence, or maybe they're on the mat and they're already kind of feeling like what you were saying, of like, okay, I'm having some bad days, maybe, I'm not enjoying as much and usually I feel like the lack of enjoyment is maybe because of our own expectations. You know what I mean? I should, you even said that. You were like, I should be better than this. You remember that one more time?
No, I don't think.
Yeah, you were like, look, I should know how to escape that position. And I'm like, man, it's just like so much deeper than that. But I know, people have to feel like that, right? So I guess my question would be, like, how do you approach your training after our conversation, and even before that, like, because I feel like my recovery is not as fast, so for you, like, how do you manage your training, your recovery, your family? You're a busy, family man. You have your business. You have to. So you have all these things that you're doing.
So the first thing I would say to people that would start, I started when I was 56, and I'd say, don't do it. Go sit on your porch, get a coffee, listen to the dogs bark. Just kidding. It's interesting for me. Two of the things that I would say are critical about what you just said are, one, expectations, and two, ego. And to me, there's a lot of level of both of those. When you walk in, don't expect your journey to be next to the person that you start with, because if they're 22, they're 32, it's going to be different. So expectations, to me, really, really can set you back. From an ego perspective, as I mentioned, I've done a lot of things at the personal level. I have a lot on my bucket list, and I'm not slowing down anytime soon. But just because I competed at a high athletic level and I coached at a high level, don't expect that. Don't let that, I should be better than this. Well, you're not. You didn't know, because you couldn't get past the physical part into the mental realm where you got out of that submission, whatever the case may be. Physically, it's okay not to roll. If there's a day where you're a little stiff, step back and watch people rolling.
Right.
Ask about it. Learn something by observing. And don't push yourself to the point of injury, because, as you mentioned, even at your age, at the tender age of the mid-30s, it takes a while to recover.
Yeah. And
the worst thing, in my opinion, that you can do if you start, say, after 40, is injure yourself because you're too aggressive, you're too stubborn, you don't want to give it up, and you hurt yourself, and you get a knee surgery or whatever, and it takes a long time to recover. And the last thing, and I know this is kind of a drawn-out answer, but learn to mentally submit. Allow someone else to have the win, because you can teach yourself something in that moment as well. They're advancing, and you know what? That makes you feel good. Do you like being submitted? Not really, but that's that little mental hurdle you have to get over. It's okay to let someone else have success, because that, as a team, as a family, as an academy, that's how we're all going to grow. Let the junior person get their first submission. That's exciting for everybody. So, and I would say, if you can't make it in, if you're traveling on the road, if you've got a really hard work schedule, stretch every day, take a breath, make sure you do something, because if you take 3 weeks off and you come in here, it's going to take you a week and a half to get back into it. Yeah. So do something every day and make it part of your life. Ask questions, develop relationships outside the mat, and really have fun with it, because if it's not fun, you're not coming back.
So it's really refreshing to hear that stuff. For those at home, man, this is a place where I hope that everybody feels comfortable, and that everybody feels like they can train jiu-jitsu here. You know what I mean? There's not, from me, there's not like a level of expectations where I'm like, you have to be like sweating and bleeding every class, and and
take care of the bleeding.
It's ridiculous. You do bleed a lot. But it's like, I like what you said. Like, if it's a day where your body doesn't feel like you need to be training hard, just take it easy. Just go easy. Go at your own pace. Sit out and watch people train. there is a lot of value in watching people train, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people here don't do. Is either they're training, like they're drilling, or they're rolling, or they're out the door, but nobody really sticks around and just kind of like watches other people moving and other people rolling, or myself and with the other coaches rolling. And I feel like there's something to learn from watching that, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, I've been doing this for 15 years, so there's 15 years of experience moving when I am moving with somebody on the mat, and I again, also like a drawn out response to what he just said, but like things like letting somebody submit you. I let people submit me all the time, just because it's like, okay, so I just show you that.
You heard that here first.
Not always. There's some guys here that catch me. But going back to letting other people succeed and other people, get that yes feeling. I have let white belts submit me. I let people submit me all the time. Just I guess now COVID times is different. But before, if I would roll with somebody, I would let them pass my guard, get on side control, and feel like they accomplished something, because I feel that brings joy to them. They're like, yes, I got the move that we just did in class, today or yesterday. So I really like it, because I've tried to explain that to people before. I'm like, just let that person submit you, and they're like, why would I do that?
It's not a natural thing when you first start this.
It's not. It's something that, and I don't, I'm glad that you brought it up, because when I explained it, the person just could not get it.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I do that? So I'm glad that we're talking about this. I hopefully people are picking up some little tips from our conversation today. What about like people that would be afraid to start because they're afraid to get hurt?
I think that goes much deeper than stepping on a jiu-jitsu mat. But what I would say is, my daughter enjoys things such as the women's self-defense. Mm-hmm. It's confidence building. If you're coming in with a pre-existing injury, for all things holy, please tell somebody. If you've got a bad shoulder, tell somebody. And it's okay to say, hey, at the beginning of our roll, I've got a knee issue. I'm a little timid. One of the big things is claustrophobia when you first start out.
Right.
Oh my God, will this person ever get off of me?
Right.
But I think I think that comes with conversation with people that have been around a while. And as unique as we think we are, somebody's been there before.
Right.
So just ask. Talk to somebody that you feel comfortable with. And chances are you'll pick up a nugget that will help you transition past that fear of either being injured, having your space invaded. If you're not comfortable, if you're not a close talker, some of this may not be natural for you, but that's something you can work through, and you become a